Hello and welcome to this Advent Devotional for December the 16th. We're going to go back a little bit to Zechariah's song. We might have gotten out of sequence on this one chronologically because this is how Zechariah praised God following the birth of his son John. And we read about Zechariah's song in Luke chapter 1, verses 67 to 80. His father Zechariah was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he's come and has redeemed his people. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he said through his holy prophets of long ago. Salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies and to enable us to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. And you, my child, will be called a prophet of the Most High, for you will go on before the Lord to prepare the way for him, to give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins, because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the path of peace." And the child grew and became strong in spirit, and he lived in the desert until he appeared publicly to Israel. There was so much going on in Zechariah's mind with the birth of his son. I mean, he was a very old man and never thought he'd have a son. And now here at the end of his life, he's given a son. But what a son. I mean, a son announced by an angel. A son whose birth he was told was going to make a tremendous sea change in the life of Israel. A son who he was told was going to be a forerunner for God's chosen Messiah. I mean, if anything would make a father proud, that kind of a child foretold would certainly make one bust their buttons, so to speak. And yet as Zechariah praises God and lifts up this song of praise, he does it filled with the Holy Spirit, filled with a desire to honor God and lift up the Lord and to extol the Lord for keeping his promises in the birth of this little boy. That John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus, was going to come and bring a message of salvation. And it's interesting the way he says that he will give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins, because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death. I mean, this is much more than just a political view of what was to transpire from this little boy ministry once he grew up to be a man and to be a forerunner. This is a spiritual view. This is a deeper understanding. And of course, it says that Zechariah knew these things because the Holy Spirit was filling him, was showing him. When the Holy Spirit fills our lives like that, he reveals things to us. He helps us to see things from God's perspective. As we go through this time of Advent, and as we come through this darkness that we're sitting in, and sometimes it feels like a shadow of death through this pandemic, though God has been merciful to us, we need to ask the Holy Spirit to fill us so we can see what these times really mean for us, to see God's hope, to see God's message of peace and of a future, and to fill us with faith to believe that God is going to work everything for his purposes, that we can trust him, and that we have a message of salvation too to bring to people. the message of new life in Jesus Christ. I pray you have a wonderful day and that you are filled with God's Spirit to encourage, lift you, and guide you. God bless you.